Greetings, Internet world. You're in the Beat Sessions, your place for all things music. I'm your host, Mitchell Weary. Let's talk about Just Mustard and their record, We Were Just Here. They released that on October 24th. This is the third studio album for the five-piece from Dundalk, Ireland, and their follow-up to 2022's Heart Under. Not one of my favorite band names, but We Were Just Here is a record that finds one of the premier Irish outfits in music take another big step in combining the styles that were meticulously cultivated on their first two critically acclaimed records, 2018's Wednesday and 2022's Heart Under. I've seen a lot of people just slap the shoegaze label on this band, but I think it really oversimplifies what they've achieved in their career. Yes, there are layers of distorted guitars, the mixed gender vocal play between lead singer Katie and guitarist David. There's danceable beats and many other sonic similarities. The attitude is there as well. And much like My Bloody Valentine, Slow Dive, and Ride, Just Mustard is here to do things on their own terms. They have no interest in commercial viability or the look at me 15 seconds of fame mindset of this modern era. With their music, they want you to look inward, to escape the vapid and disposable sounds that are out there, and to just allow their songs to take you into the recesses of your soul. But they're right up in your face as they do it, demanding your attention instead of just whimsically goading for it. And that's the difference. Their sound has truly evolved into something eclectic on We Were Just Here, incorporating the distorted experimental styles of the Velvet Underground, Sonic Youth, and Black Midi. There's a sound of industrial pop. It's almost as if Trent Reznor collaborated with Beach House. There's the seductive, breakbeat-driven sounds of trip-hop and the drive of post-punk, a scene that sought to break away from rock and roll cliches by incorporating krautrock, funk, electronic music, jazz, and dance. Sure, the influences of shoegaze are strong, but it's just one piece in a cross-pollination of sound that exemplifies the versatility of groundbreaking artists that are reaching the higher echelons of creativity. It's why Deftones are still more relevant now than ever, with many of their supposed peers just being an afterthought after decades at this point. It's kind of this ironic full circle moment, the return of many different genres from the 90s that were clipped by grunge and Brit pop. And I've read over the years that the success of those movements were predicated on the ability of those artists to seemingly offer working class listeners a more cathartic escape for their angst. But where are any of those bands now? It didn't take long for the Suits to do their thing, with most of those bands cashing in or dissolving in defiance. But either way, their moment was equally as short-lived. We Were Just Here is a trenchant title. For many of us, it feels like we were just there, with so much that felt ahead of its time. And Just Mustard bring those familiar sounds into the modern era, creating dark but vibrant music that doesn't come off as perfunctory, but excavates deep into the hallowed ground to cement its own place in time. We Were Just Here was produced by David Wrench, who worked with the band on their last record, as well as Primal Scream, Blur, and the Predators on each of their most recent projects, to name just a few. And he keeps the band on a full course straight ahead, maintaining their sonic radiance, but aiding them in exploring different thematic territory. In a time when it's easy for most to carry a pessimistic outlook, Katie Ball and company opt for shrewd optimism instead of the bleak and tenebrous writing of their first two albums. Ball stated that when she penned the title track, that she, quote, wrote the lyrics by imagining myself on a dance floor. I wanted to write more songs that suited places like that. I wrote it as an existential love song, but you can hear it and feel it any way you like, end quote. Instead of shunning the light, this record burns like a candle in the darkness, keeping the gloominess of the shadows at bay. We live in a dark world, and the shadows are a constant threat, but We Were Just Here is a record that hardens the listener to never acquiesce, making for music that is more palatable and fulfilling with multiple listens. This is felt immediately with opener Pollyanna, a name that refers to a person who is excessively optimistic and tends to find good in every situation. The album never shies away from the darkness, but attacks it with sanguinity. On Endless Deathless, she sings, "Say this is deathless, tell me you're endless, let the light close my eyes." While Dandelion captures the stoicism of this perspective. When the thirst is over, when the sky turns sad, I'm a dandelion. Leave me in the land, leave me, I'm weightless as I am. Swear I'm still floating as I stand, with your breath dancing in the air everywhere. Her voice is sharp but delicate, a sonic incarnation that is the dichotomy of life, a byproduct of coming to terms with this as we age and assuaging the angst of mortality. The mood remains dark, but Katie's bewitching voice gives her lyrics a shimmering vibrance, and more importantly, they stand out in the mix probably more than they ever have. The melodies are catchy and lush, and they find great support from immersive layers of guitar. And as much as I love the performances from David and Mete, it's the ferocity of Shane and Rob in the rhythm section that makes Just Mustard so captivating for me anyway. Shane's drums are a highlight for me on this, galvanizing rhythms that are bursting with dance floor energy, while Rob's distorted bass operates in full service while manifesting an agenda all its own. The album is euphoric, gaining momentum with every song, and it's really its only fault is that it crashes with the underwhelming penultimate track, The Steps. It's unfortunate to see this misstep, but everything before it still makes for a worthwhile experience, while Out of Heaven brings the record to a strong finish. The album opens with Pollyanna and brings it out with thunderous crashes and ominous feedback that almost kind of sounds like a siren. This element remains steady, droning through the song as a breakbeat kicks in to control the chaos. The song has a strong industrial feel as it develops, with Katie's vocals adding a brilliant contrast of piercing and wispy tones. The guitars kick in for the chorus, suppressing the feedback and turning the song into a shoegazed atmosphere with high-powered energy. The song hits an interesting bridge that plays with dark, swirling textures before returning to an extended play on the chorus. The percussion is the only thing that remains steady when the track breaks down just after about the 3-minute mark. And then the swirling element begins the build back, followed by vocals, and then that opening alarm synth before the track kicks into shoegaze mode with the music dissolving in the coda. And then I love the way the drums kick right in to take us to your second song, Endless Death. It's a highlight for me. Squelching guitars carry with a brooding bass and synth element that binds brilliantly with high energy percussion that it just feels like it's about to just go off the rails. There's an abrupt transition where the guitars fall out and the remaining instrumentation finds a sense of calm as Katie opens the verses. It feels like the eye of the storm, a moment of serenity that creates no peace with the impending doom that it carries. And it's so good when it finally hits. That howling guitar and Katie's airy, ethereal voice are so good together. There's a brief bridge before the coda where the drums fall out of an inferno of grinding synths before building back to close on a big refrain of maybe sometime, maybe always. Your third track is entitled Silver. It's going to back the energy off a bit as it fades in on a wavy, flickering synth that ushers in vocals and breakbeat percussion that operates on the vigorous side of mid-tempo. The track remains steady as David takes over on vocals with the lines, "We watch them on the ceiling, they dance to us the meaning." It's kind of eerie. I love those lines. And this trade-off between him and Katie continues as the track proceeds. The drums take center stage briefly in a bridge that starts around the minute and 30-second mark, and there's a similar moment that commences at about 30 seconds later, highlighted by screeching guitar before intensifying the energy of the finish. The band bathes the listener in cascading layers of sound with hypnotic, round-style vocals between Katie and David before closing with a shapeless landscape of airy, industrial texture. Your fourth track is entitled Dreamer. A clean, arpeggiated riff opens this one, quickly followed by Katie's vocals, and then the rhythm a few measures later. The rhythm really showcases what is so great about the dynamic between drummer Shane McGuire and bassist Robert Hodgers Clark. Frenetic percussion that finds symbiosis with the torpid droning of his bass. The guitar that enters feels like ripples in a pond, just this gentle, fluid rocking feel. The song continues to balloon with intoxicating layers while Katie and David trade lyrics before calming around the halfway point to begin the build once more. The track goes big in the coda with a hushed refrain of the line, "Find me." Your fifth song is your title track, "We Were Just Here." Comes right out with dance floor energy, driven by the sounds of krautrock and dance pop, with just the right tinge of their signature darkness. The thick textures drop out into a minimal section with the lines, "Everything happens all the time, all around me, all the time. I just want to make it feel good." Just really capturing the essence of what this record is all about. Song intensifies with the additional turn and with added energy and textures in the coda, and then a refrain that's built on the title to close. Your sixth track is entitled "Somewhere." The soft sounds of background noise give way to faint drums and chanting vocals to start this one off, before the rumbling drone of thick bass and synths take hold. Katie's vocals are light and airy, building splendidly off the vocal harmonies that persist through the track just past the 1 minute mark before they vanish. The rhythm takes control, with Katie serving as the light in the dark for the first few measures. Then curious undulating synths take hold of the track. They're simple, but so mesmerizing in the mix. I absolutely love this effect in the song. David's vocals add murky depth to the track before it moves into a sinister, percussion led bridge and reverts to the melodic structure of the opening for an immersive coda to finish. Your seventh track is entitled "Dandelion," definitely a highlight for me. Brief waves of feathery synths lead in on a light breakbeat percussion with prominent clacking element and a clean bass riff that operates on the high strings with marvelous effect. Everything channels a brooding post-punk feel as Katie's vocals provide a weightless contrast. Synth elements build in and drift through the track before it expands into a fuller, ethereal sound for the chorus. The instrumentation dissipates about around the halfway mark into a formless bridge of synth play that's restored by the vocals, followed by the percussion, and then lastly the synths before burgeoning into the coda that finishes with fiery guitar work. Your eighth track is entitled "That I Might Not See." Intense but lofty industrial programming opens a track that is indubitably a play off the title of Mazzy Star's second record. Propulsive rolling drums lead in with the vocals to carry the verse, with buoyant synths that add just a touch of body to the intensity a few bars later. Fluttering synths and a snare element further develop the track through the chorus before reverting to lighter textures for a brief second verse. Then the intensity of the chorus takes hold once more before the coda amplifies the strength of the track, and it fades right into your ninth song, "The Steps." Stone cold waves of synth open the penultimate track before Katie's vocals function like snow falling on a barren landscape. I will say that they do work to great effect. The track is intense but minimal, honing in on an instrumental segment at the halfway mark before the vocals return to finish it out. It feels so underwhelming for a penultimate track. I feel like this really is the only misstep on what is a pretty much flawless album. Maybe this is a moment that shows that they still haven't lost their "we don't give a damn, we will do what we want" attitude. But I just feel like this song, if it was going to be included, it doesn't deserve this spot. It feels out of place. And your final track is entitled "Out of Heaven," returns to their fierce side with massive bass heavy synths that open. I love the way the drums cut in and the body of the track takes a lighter turn. I think it would have been awesome for the band to utilize the steps as an intro for this track, especially with the titles that they share. I mean, it could have been like a dual track. The lighter elements are driven by jarring industrial textures that have this opulent classic pop influence. They're so unique. And I love the way that everything drops for the hook, except for that bass heavy synth and David's vocals. The track does a second turn on these segments before turning to a massive and immersive high energy finish with lots of distorted guitar, a refrain on the hook that mellows just a bit, and then a formless coda that fizzles out with that continued refrain. Aside from the hiccup at the back end of this record, this band really has taken a massive step forward with the progression of their creativity. Watching what they did with their first two records and the way that they were able to find middle ground with what they did with each of those projects while making their sound just sound so much bigger, so much more layered, and sonically lighter and thematically more optimistic. I really love the turn that they're taking here. I know that, the influence that you hear from some of these other gothic artists, The Cure, Depeche Mode, name any band that you want. All those bands have made that move into lighter territory. And I don't feel like that this is something that is going to be a part of every project for them down the road. I think that there will be a back and forth depending on where they're at in their lives, depending on what their creative mood is inspiring. But I think it's a great step for them, especially as far as trying to gain more visibility out there in the world. At the end of the day, you do have to find some kind of compromise. You have to sell tickets. You have to go out there and tour and do shows and make sure that arenas and venues are full. And I think that this is an album that it's a great addition to their catalog. And these songs will provide great contrast through a live set list for them. And I know I'm almost positive that they're playing up in Phoenix in about 6 or 7 months. And I'm really excited to drive up there and check them out. If you're in the area, I hope to see all of you guys. But honestly, this thing would have been damn near a 9.5 out of 10 for me if it wasn't for the penultimate track. But I'm going to still give this thing an 8 out of 10. It is a great record, and I hope you enjoy it. I hope you find this review helpful as well. Please like this video, share it, subscribe to the channel. If you're feeling generous, drop a super chat. Do all the things to help me blow this project up in 2025. And stay tuned throughout the week for more album reviews. We will see you next time on the Beat Sessions.